What's up, everybody? My name is Dawit Kabata, and I have my fellow community collaborator here with me.
Hey, everybody. I am Anthony Hall, and it is nice to see y'all or to speak to y'all.
And we are a part of an organization called Urban Youth Excel. This show today and many shows to come will briefly tell you guys about what we do, the work that we're doing. In the future, we'll have some guests that we'd like to interview to kind of showcase the ways that we're impacting the students that we engage with. And you guys will get a better picture of who we are and what we do. So as we begin our broadcast, we're always going to start by mentioning our mission statement, given that you may be somebody who's hearing about us for the first time, or you may be somebody who's heard about us a bunch already. I think it's always important to remind folks what we do and why we do it. And our mission statement in brief is partnering with Jesus to mentor inner city students in every area of their life. There's a sort of passage out the Bible that really animates the work that we do that I think helps you guys to understand why we do what we do. And there's a moment in Jesus' ministry in Matthew 9 where he's walking, and it says the crowds looked like they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Then he turned to his disciples and he said to his disciples, "The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore pray to the Lord of the harvest that he would send workers into his field." What me and Anthony do every week with the students on the high school campuses and the junior high school campuses that we go to is we want to be Jesus's hands and feet to help some of these students who are in many ways harassed, are in many ways helpless, and we want to come alongside them and serve them to help them be all who God has called them to be. From this mission statement and this verse, there's a few things that are really important to us. And we're going to kind of chat about them throughout this broadcast. And again, we'll always mention that mission statement that we exist to partner with Jesus to mentor inner city students in every area of their life. So we'll begin by chatting about a few of the concrete ways that we do that weekly on the high school campuses and with the students we engage. Anthony will begin by sharing about one of the ways this last few weeks he's had a chance to mentor one of our students and point them to Jesus.
Right, and there was a young gentleman that I've been able to just pour into, build a relationship with, and come alongside, just as our mission statement says, to be that example, be an example, but also to be able to just speak into his life, answer any questions that he may have, and we've had great opportunities. Through even with our partnerships, allowing us to have access to to this gentleman. What we do is what I've been doing with him is we get to go and have lunch, which is always a good thing. You introduce food, they're gonna come. So
Students are
we
coming,
go
yeah.
have lunch. We go and we actually get into the word. We'll go and do like an event. Like he plays basketball, so we'll go play basketball, and then after that we'll sit down and we'll just have a conversation. And actually, recently I got to sit down and just hear his story about who he is, who created this young man, and how he came to be where he is today. And it was an amazing story. He discussed about his childhood. He discussed about the ups and the downs. He discussed about his parents, about his brothers. He actually I got to learn everything about him. So when we meet up, we just sometimes even sit each other and we just start laughing because of what we had just talked about 2 or 3 days before that. And everybody else is looking at us like, what are you doing? Why are y'all laughing? And him and I, we have that bond, that relationship to be able to have that common joke, or that where we don't even have to talk about it, we just start cracking up. So it allows us to come alongside them, just as our mission statement stated, and then also be involved in their lives. So now I know details of his life. A lot of times we talked, he was like, I don't tell nobody this, but, and then he'll tell me,
Yeah, yeah.
and I love it when they say that. I haven't told
Can I ask you a
anybody
question, Anthony?
yet. Huh?
And let me
Yeah.
ask you a question as it relates to Justin. Is one of the things that I really want our viewers to know is that we're convicted by the belief that Jesus is already present and active in our students' lives. Often they don't have the eyes to see it, but he's moving in ways they can't quite perceive. And so one of our tasks as a community collaborator is when we step into their lives and hear their stories, we're always asking this question: in what ways is Jesus already moving? In what ways can the student maybe not perceive that God is active in his life? Anthony, when Justin shared parts of his story with you, was there anything that he shared that let you know, okay, Justin, you may not see it, but this is God moving and shaking and sort of orchestrating things in your life that you are able to help him maybe see or understand in that conversation?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. I was definitely about to go into that in terms of like when we had this talk about the story, he discussed and told me how he knew and he knows God, but he doesn't understand sometimes when God shows up. Like we'll be talking about a story where he discussed a situation where it was funny, but not where he was walking home and actually a homeless lady chased him down with a knife, and he
Oh,
was
wow.
like, God was with me in that. He was like, because first of all, God had me turn around to even see that she was coming after me because I didn't even know she was coming after me. And then God gave me, which is I think is the cool part of hearing the purity in his conversation, that he was like, then God gave me the strength and the speed to outrun her. I was wearing my Kobe's and it allowed me to outrun her. And I was like,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
he was able to see how God protected him in that situation. And he had several
Yeah.
other stories in that way too. And I was about to
Yep.
say, and I mean, I know, like, with your guy too, like, definitely, I wanted to hear about how you and your gentleman.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Unfortunately, for many of our students, they find themselves in situations where you may have to run from a person with a knife chasing you down. Definitely not ideal,
Right.
but especially on the light rail in different areas
Yes.
in Phoenix, yeah, where you have to get around. There's some just unfortunate situations we run into, and I love that even in that story, he could see God was helping him get away. Because
Yeah.
who knows what could have happened if there would have been an encounter between he and that woman. So for
Mhm.
me, one of the ways that I really wanted to live into our call to mentor inner city high school students this month is with a student I've been meeting with for a while. And with this particular student, he played basketball, very much into the gym. And so, one of the things Anthony and I try to do as we build these mentor relationships is we want to find out where in their life are there points of entry for us to get to know them better. And because this student plays a bunch of basketball, I asked him on Saturday mornings, I'll pick him up, we'll go to the gym, we'll work out, and then after we work out, we'll get a protein shake, there's a protein bar in the gym, and then we'll talk about life and we'll talk about God. One of the cool things we've been able to do as an organization this year is we've made these little booklets. And during our next show, I'll be sure to bring one, where these booklets have Bible verses, these booklets have questions, they have pictures. They're a really great way to engage our students with mentoring and mentoring towards God. So I gave him a booklet. I told him, hey, when you come into the gym, here's this booklet. I want you to read this verse, wrestle with it, and then when we come together, we'll work out, and then we'll spend some time reading it. So we got a great workout in, pushed him to his brink. A lot of these young folks think they can get down with
Mhm.
us, but you got a little age, you got a little maturity, get a little grown man strength going. So young folks
Mhm.
can't really deal with us all the way. I had him, about to fall over a few times. But we get to hanging out and we're chatting. And there's a particular issue he has going on in his family. For many of our students, there's a lot of family strife that they deal with. The homes aren't where I know they would want them to be, with relating to parents, relating to siblings. And so oftentimes when we come in and we serve them, it's issues pertaining to the family. So for this student that I really enjoyed, these last couple of weeks, we've been talking about forgiveness because his mother has not been the best mother to him. She's made certain choices, she's said certain things that have really hurt him. And especially as a young man, processing some of those emotions are really difficult. They often feel like they don't have the space to be vulnerable. They don't have older men or women in their lives that they trust enough to sort of share these things with. And that's why I love going to the gym with him, because it sort of earns my ability to have those tough conversations with him, because he knows Dowie really wants to get to know me for me. He's not just trying to come and say hi and bye. He wants to get to know me, and he's going to point me towards Jesus. So we've been reading through a few different passages in the Bible, and I've been really challenging him with this. If you really want to experience the forgiveness of God, you got to learn to forgive other people. And that's a really tough thing to hear, not just for my student, for Anthony, for me, for folks on our board, for adults, right? This is a common issue when we've been hurt and really traumatized by people. It's really difficult to offer any olive branch, to offer any kind of forgiveness to them. And one thing I challenge them with is, it doesn't mean you have to say everything's okay. It doesn't mean you have to overlook the things that they've done. And I can see as I'm saying these things to him, there's a wrestle because he's like, Dowie, what you're saying is true, but it hurts too much. You don't know what they've done to me. And I just have to look at him and say, you're right, I don't. But also God went through a lot for us. Jesus did a lot for us. Now that, again, does not make things easy. I'm not here to sugarcoat nothing. But it's because you've embraced what God has done for you that he gives you the strength to sort of look out and forgive others, even if they don't quite deserve it, just like he's done with us. And I wish I could sit here and tell you guys, well, he did that, everything's okay, the relationship is great. Unfortunately, that wouldn't be real life because life is messy, but that also wasn't the case. And it's an ongoing process. And I think that's another testament to what we do, right? We're not flying by, saying something and leaving. We're with these students for the long haul, both as they enter from junior high to high school, as well as after. We have relationships with certain students that are currently college students, and we're doing the same work with them, mentoring them, meeting them where they are, and being Jesus's hands and feet. So we briefly shared about 2 instances we do that we disciple these inner city students, and we mentor them actually. Another way that we do that, and that's what we're going to go to next, is we talk about these organizations. One of the crucial things for serving high school students well is collaboration. If we can't learn to collaborate well with other organizations that are also about the well-being of our students, then we're not going to serve our students well. So Anthony and I, as community collaborators at Urban Youth Excel, look to partner with different organizations that have their own mission and their own goals, but are equally committed to benefiting our students. And so we found some that do that. So we just spoke about individual relationships we have with students. Now we're going to briefly turn and talk about some organizational partnerships we have to mentor some of these inner city students in their walk with God. Anthony, why don't you go ahead and talk about your partnership?
And so, and the thing is that, with me and we our partnerships are, we partner with all of our partners together. So within it, I'm going to just speak on one of them where with As You Reach, as where it allows for me to actually get to pour into a cohort of young men. We have sometimes it varies depending upon who signs up, who gets sent to us, but we get allowed to pour into teaching them how to be young men of God, young men and young men of God, which is,
and this is on high school campuses.
And this is on, it's on high school campuses where we get to, and it's on more than one. We've actually been able to extend to a second campus where we have the opportunity to be able to pour into these boys while they're in an environment where they struggle with having those character qualities of being a young man, being able to have authority over them, being able to speak into their lives so that when they leave that room or when they leave that environment, they can then go see that teacher that they're like, because it's a safe environment for them. So they speak and they open up and they tell us everything. And they be like, I don't like this teacher, or I don't like that. And when we get to talk to them about those things, we're actually there available for them to walk through those moments where they're frustrated or where they feel that they have been done wrong or they're doing something wrong. Like I had young men come up to me and be like, I'm talking to this girl and I'm doing this, that. And I'm like, well, young man, let's go ahead and reevaluate that. I get to ask them questions. I get to ask them, like, to have them think, not just do, but to think about their actions, think about how they're going about carrying and behaving as young men. So with AZ Reach, we get the opportunity to do that for them. We get to have them in an environment that has no distractions, that doesn't have where they have people walking around and calling them, and they don't have their cell phones. They're literally sitting there and they're being vulnerable. It's an opportunity to be vulnerable, not just with us, but with their peers, the other gentlemen that are in that room.
Anthony, so they're real quick, just to interrupt you, could you please just explain for a viewer who has no idea about AZ Reach, just kind of break down what it looks like, the group of students, what happens in the room, at what point in the day is it? Just kind of give them a brief understanding so that they can imagine sort of the work that you're talking about.
Well, yeah, with AZ Reach, it's a good setup. We go during their lunch periods. And then there's something called advisory, where it's almost like study hall, where students get the opportunity to go and do homework, things like that, or they get to go to special classes or courses, which AZ Reach is one of those. So you'll have a set of, just like I said, about 10 young gentlemen that sometimes their counselor referred them to us because they're having difficulties within the school, they're getting in trouble, or they're going through something like depression, things like that, where they need to be a place where they can be safe and they can be open and they can also be cared for within that. So they send them to us. Once we get these young men, we get a classroom. During lunchtime, everybody's allowed to come. Everyone. That's anybody in the school. The young ladies, anybody, they come in, they just hang out, they play games, we build a relationship. We usually have donuts or we'll have candy and we'll just sit there and play games with them. And then once lunch is over, then advisory comes up, and that's when we have just those specific young gentlemen, the 10 to 15 young gentlemen, that they come to the classroom, and then we go and we sit and we then go through what I was expressing earlier, character qualities, like talking about authority, talking about leadership, talking about their self-awareness. So it allows for these boys to be able to get tools during this advisory time, to be able to get those tools and take them out and then utilize them in their life. Just as I said, and
Anthony?
there too.
Can you think of a boy that you were dealing with, that you were mentoring, that maybe had an issue, or there was a teacher he was dealing with, that you were able to really impact and sort of encourage and mentor away from certain habits and maybe certain choices through that program?
Yeah, I had a gentleman that actually just recently, and he texted me a couple days ago. He actually attends the church that I attend as well. So it was cool to be able to connect with him on several levels. But he was this gentleman. He came to me and he walked up to me and they call me Coach, and he's like, "Hey, Coach." He was like, "I just broke up with my girl because I cheated on her." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "What?" He was like, "Yeah, but I'm trying to get back with her, and I apologize, and I feel bad about what I did." And I asked him, I go, "Are you trying to get back with her because your ego is being hit, because she doesn't want to be with you anymore? Or are you trying to get back with her because you seen what you did inappropriately and you still care to be with her?" And he was like, "I don't know. I haven't really thought about it that way. I just know I just want to be back with her." And I was like, "Well, this is what we need to do." And him and I got to sit back, reflect upon his actions, reflect upon the consequences, but also tie in how he is in terms of a man of God. We got to bring and speak on how God speaks on how us as young men of God should walk, how we should behave. And then also to speak on how God saw this young lady, in that she's his daughter. So now he got to see a whole view of not just of what I did and I want to get back with her, but how God wants us to even behave with each other. And so he's still a young man. He heard what I had to say,
of course.
but he also came back, and then we were still talking again because we're there every Thursday at this location. And he came back and he was like, "Yeah, she still doesn't want to be with me." I was like, "But did you think about how you were going to change your actions?" He was like, "Yes." And he started going into telling me how he was going to, the next girl that he had, if it wasn't her, how he was going to treat her with better respect, how he was going to put himself in a position to not fall. And also, he learned about forgiveness, like Dawit mentioned earlier. He's like, "I know I can forgive myself, but I also still got to make sure that I don't fall into that same actions." So it was lovely. It was good.
I think for our viewers, thank you for that, Anthony. It's really crucial not to miss some of the things that he said. One of the great privileges we have as an organization, because of the work that we've done, is we've built trust with various other organizations, with administrations, with school, such that when we partner with them in these kinds of programs, we're not only encouraging students to be better engaged academically, which of course we do, encourage them to be better engaged in their community civically, which we do. All of this is coming from a perspective that says there's a God in heaven who loves you. And he sent his son, and his son is named Jesus. And we know that if we can get you right with Jesus, we can turn you back towards your community and make you more civically engaged, a better child to your parents, more better engaged academically. And throughout our programming, we're going to have students on so that you guys don't just hear it from our mouth. We're going to eventually interview some students to sort of share what this work looks like and how privileged we are to be in the spaces that we are, to not only mentor students to make them better academically and civically, but also to point them to Jesus throughout that process.
Yes,
Another
yes.
organization we partner with very deeply, and it's quite popular. It's in it's international, in fact, it's global. It's an organization called Young Life. Many of you have heard of it. Some of you probably have not. And basically, it is another local nonprofit that loves Jesus and hosts various events, camps during the summer, camps during the winter, where they get students together after school to have dinner, to have a hangout, to play games, and usually do a Bible study. One of the cool things that we've been able to develop, and it's actually at the church location I'm at currently, you can maybe see some of these little drawings of some of the students we have during youth group sometimes, or elementary students. But we have an event where we have students from multiple high schools here in the Valley get together. And sometimes these events can get up to 50, 60, 70 students. They come, they hang out, they see their peers, they get a good meal, which they don't often get as much as at least we would like. Then they come and they play some games. So one of the things that Young Life is really committed to is making students know that Jesus wants to walk with you in all of your life. And it's not so serious that you can't joke and have fun, but it's also not such a joke that there's never a time to get serious, right? It's a mix of both. So we come together, we hang out, we play games, and then usually every week somebody shares a word at the end. One of the reasons why we love partnering with Young Life is because they provide so many great off-campus opportunities with camps and different programs in that way. This past Monday, we were able to have 60 or 70 students together. And one of the ways that I really get a chance to mentor students, and maybe this is overlooked for some of you viewers who haven't done a lot of youth work, is there is no more holy of a place than a van or a car. And I know it may sound strange, but if you really think about it, when you got 6, 7, 8 students driving home, and even if they're not too far from each other, dropping off 6, 7, 8 students can take an hour easily.
Oh, yes.
And in these car rides, we're driving, we're talking about life, talking about family, friendships, girls, the whole deal. And I've had more holy conversations in the back of a stinky van or in the front of a van with chips and crumbs, which we try to clean often, about Jesus and about God. And I mention that as it relates to Young Life because Young Life has so many different students that come. So Anthony and I usually are using our vans to pick up a bunch of students. This past week, I can think of one particular boy that I had taken home who lives in West Phoenix. And on the way home, we were able to talk about issues related to his family. He has to be the caretaker for one of his little sisters because his mother is working full time. And he just confessed to me about the struggle it is that he feels like he can't always be a kid. Sometimes I just want to hang out after school. Sometimes I just want to come to Young Life and not worry about it. But unfortunately, I'm always asking about where my little sister is. I got to make sure she has rides home. I got to make sure she has food. And, that's a common situation we find amongst our students. But this is where I attempt to minister to him, right? As a sheep without a shepherd, as we mentioned a little bit earlier. So I asked him, what ways can you really show Jesus to your little sister? Not that it makes it easy because there's sacrifices that you have to make. But in what ways can you love her and care for her, not only as a big brother, but as a big brother who says, it's because of what Jesus has done for me, little sister, that I'm going to care for you in this way, that I'm going to provide for you in this way, that I'm going to do it with a smile on my face. That when my mom asked me to do a few extra chores to take care of her, I could suck my teeth, mope around, get angry and frustrated, but I'm not. I'm going to do it because I know that's what God would want for me. And this is just one way that we've sort of had this really cool conversation. And there is a few more ways that we'll get into during the next broadcast because there are many more opportunities that we've had to share Jesus with people, share Jesus with our students. But I think one point that I want to close with as it relates to you guys who are listening is one of the most privileged things that we're able to do as an organization is that because of the work that we've done, we're on high school campuses every week. We're at basketball and football games. We're at wrestling matches. We're at musicals. We're at lunches. We're doing all this work with the aim that we would get students to be mentored, to show them what Jesus looks like. Anthony, can you think of anything briefly as we sort of head to the close of our podcast? Any sports event, any activity you've been to in the last month or two as we're just finishing up the basketball season, heading into the track season? Any events you've been to lately? Any students you've supported in that way?
Well, the beautiful thing about it is in addition with AZ Reach, being on one of those campuses with AZ Reach, I'm now starting to coach on that same
Mm,
campus, which
there
is
you go.
allowing me to coach. So now I'm
Wow.
coaching actually the upcoming freshmen, the ones, the eighth graders that are
Mm.
going to be freshmen at that school. So
What
we're
sport?
even getting in contact with them, huh? For
What sport are
football.
you? There we
Yeah,
go. Okay.
football. Yeah, for football. So they're playing football, and so going to football practices and being able to speak to these young men, and also to be able to kind of help them understand. So when they step on campus, they already know about AZ Reach. They already know about
Mm.
Young Life. They already know about our partners. So there's a lot of events. They just played their first game this past weekend. Um, we lost 20-27, but hey,
Okay.
that's
Close
okay.
match.
That's
Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
It's a close game though.
Yeah.
And so now we're having practice again, and we'll have our next game this next Saturday. So it allows us those events that we get to be a part of, and that's through my partnership with Daisy Reach that allows for this
Yeah.
thing to happen.
I mean, if only you could express. Anthony has been coaching for over a decade, played
Yeah.
high school and college, football. He wouldn't say it himself, but he's an all-state athlete in Arizona, so he has all the credentials you could imagine. But sports is another great way that we partner. As we close our show today, I just want to remind you guys again that our goal is to partner with Jesus to mentor inner city students in every area of life. We do everything that we can to that end. And we hope that you join us again during our next show. And we'll talk a little bit more about the exact events and that we host for our students. So we appreciate y'all. Thank you guys for joining this show. And we look forward to our next few shows. And we'll have guests and talk about various other things that we do. All right, y'all. Have a good
Yes.
one.
Thank you. Peace.